lovers, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna, and for those of you who are new here, welcome. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. Here on my channel, I do planner and planner related videos with the occasional new release video of items that I've listed to my Etsy shop. And if that is of interest to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you hit that little notification bell, you'll always be notified of when I do load a new video. And if you could also comment, like, and share, that would be amazing. So I was watching a video by Val from Nate's Mom Plans, and I'll link her channel below. And it was just this past weekend. And she had moved her work planner from her mini into the unicorn. I think it's the classic. It might be the big, but it's certainly bigger than the mini. It was whatever the unicorn planner is, the Wanderlust. That's the one she has, and that's what she moved it into. And then I believe she said that for the mini, she would be practicing lettering. And then she had ordered this book from Amazon. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have that book. So I ordered this probably February or March of last year. My genius plan was to take it to work, which this is where that was, and during my lunch break I would just practice lettering because I really love the look of lettering. I think my handwriting is good. I can do block lettering fairly decent, but I just love how all of this looks. And so I picked up a couple of these books from Amazon, and I'll link that below, and I never actually got to it. And the reason is during my lunch break, I am typically working either on responding to comments or my blog or editing or Etsy listings. I mean, I'm usually working during my lunch on all of my side things. So I brought this home today. And the reason that I have this here is, well, let me just show you. So the other book that I purchased is this one, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know they had these lettering books on discs, and they don't. But I know it's going to seem like I'm anti-book bound, but it really just seems way more functional to me is if I can just go through the different lessons, read through it, and then when I get to the lesson, then I can just actually take it out and work on it versus having to work in a book-bound system. So I wanted to show you this really quick way that you can make your lettering thing, at least that I think, a lot more functional. And that's just because I like the ability to take it out of my Happy Notes or just the disc-bound system, wherever you're putting it, versus having to work on this. As you can see, it wouldn't be so bad if the writing was done on this side, and I think eventually you would get that. But if you're practicing here, I don't know. I don't hate books. I don't want that rumor to get out there, but I'm not a fan of this disc-bound system, especially if I have to write in it. If I'm reading a book, that's not a problem because I can just read till it goes and then just keep going. I mean, that's how reading works. But for stuff like this, it's not a fan. It actually goes rather quickly on how I got this book in here. Probably took me all of 30 minutes. This is the big Happy Notes. There are 11 discs, and I feature this in the little planner craft, essentially my birthday haul earlier this month. I did put it on the expander rings because I do have some paper in here. I didn't leave all of the paper. I did put that into some other Happy Notes, more so for storage, because I didn't know how thick this book would get with the two lettering books in it. So I just took out some paper, and if I put this like this, then it should be fine. Now I measured this, and this is 10 by 8. And the reason why I didn't put it in my classic and this one I had picked up in that, or I featured in that same haul, is because this is bigger. So it extends at the top of that by a little less than an inch, because the cover of this is, I believe, 9 3/4, so 9 7/5, while the inserts are a little bit smaller, and I wanted to fully protect it. So while it is slightly too small to fit all 11 discs, it would be much taller than the cover of the Classic. So I just decided to err on the side of caution, just to make sure that my paper is fully covered by the cover. Like I said, this should be a fairly quick tutorial, and you probably know exactly what I'm going to do. But let me get this out of the way. I'll bring it back in a little bit. Now, I definitely would recommend that you do this if you already have one of the punch systems, whether you have this, which is sized for the big, whether you have the blue one that's sized for the Classic. Sorry, I was just thinking, because it actually punches 10 discs, you may just need to figure that out if you only have the blue one for the Classic, because then you might have to have some of it butt at the top, just so that all of your pages are punched in the same way. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you only have the 9 punches, then you'll just want to make sure that however you choose to punch it, that you center it, or you have always the same margin, so that when you put it in, it lays perfectly straight. It's really hard for me to show you because I don't have that blue one, but yeah, if you have the blue one, just be aware that you're only going to get the 9 punches, because that's all that's on that blue one, and you're going to have probably a lot of gap at the top, which could be problematic because of the rings. So I don't actually know how useful this is going to be. What you might have to do is punch twice. So punch like half of it, then flip it around and punch the other half. Again, I don't know exactly how that would work, but I mean, I suppose you could put this in the Classic, because then again, you're just going to have overhang, and depending on how you store your books, it may not be an issue. I just didn't like the fact that it would hang over, and I did have this big size Happy Notes, but then I also do have the big size Happy Punch. Now, what I was going to say before I actually really thought about this whole process is I wouldn't recommend this if all you have is the hole punch, just because that is a ton of punching to do. Now, I also have the arc punch, but I thought it might be more likely that you'd have one of the Happy Planner ones than you have that one, but that one would also work perfectly well. The other thing you're going to need is a box cutter. Now, I would definitely recommend a box cutter over an X-Acto knife, just because I think this has a little bit more support, and I can push down a little bit more than I can with this. Now, this definitely would work, and I know that more people probably have either this type of X-Acto knife or like the little Fisker ones like that, but this one, I think you just have to do a lot more work, and I'm impatient, so I would definitely recommend this. Now, you don't really need a straight edge, because what I did with the other book was just used the side of the actual binding. Now, I did learn that I have uneven pressure, so I would get really clean cuts here down the middle, but my tops and my bottoms didn't come out clean, so I actually had to do some cleanup with my cutter. I'm hoping I can avoid that with this one, but we'll see. So, I mean, a scissor or a cutter system might be necessary as well, but if that's an issue, I'll show you that in a little while. So you'll just want to extend out your blade, and make sure it's locked. And then with, I mean, don't stab it, but with quite firm pressure, just have your blade go snug against the side of the cover. And that way you'll know you're cutting in the same place. You don't want to do like a sawing motion. You just want to do even, clean motions in a downward fashion. And so we're just going to put some pressure and make some cuts along the cover spine. And we've already got some out there. Now, I definitely want to keep this in order since it is sort of a lesson plan. And you're just going to want to continue to just evenly and slowly move this out the way. See? So that's what I was talking about. Let me flip these. Because if you get the little pieces like that, you may have to cut the edge just to square it off, because when you go ahead and put it in your punch, if they're not the same size, then your punch could be off. Okay, so, and I'm just going to continue to do this. All right, guys, so I've got it all separated, and I will need to do a little bit of cleanup, but again, I want to keep this in the order, because again, it is a lesson book. And so let me flip this. And I believe both of the books measured the same, so 10 by 8. That actually really isn't that important. I thought it was interesting that they were the same. And it's actually not as bad as the one that I already did, but just in case, when you are doing yours, you get some that aren't just perfectly a straight line. What I did was I took my trusty cutter and took some pages and I stuck this in, and I tried to get it so that I had a good amount, at least a 1/16 of an inch worth of paper to cut. With my cutter especially, if it's too narrow the size that I'm cutting, it can actually start to tear. And it doesn't really matter what the size is, but if you are going to trim all of your pages, then just note whatever size it is and then just have them all match that. Now it might, I guess it's this way. So it might cut off a little. I think we're actually going to be okay. When we do the punching, that might go into some words, but again, you know, I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. And so let me just do that one more time. Now, I didn't mention this before, but you're definitely going to want to do this on a surface that can take the blade. I have a foam board that's covered in some wood contact paper, so that's fine because I'm not cutting my desk. Underneath that, I have a craft mat, so I certainly could use that, but it is a weeknight. I know I was just complaining the other day about doing crafting on a weeknight, but you know how I get when I get ideas in my head, and I just didn't really want to have to pull everything up to get to the craft mat. But you don't want to do this on like your good desk or your good dining table unless you're into lots of nicks and scratches. So just be aware of that. All right, guys? So let me just do some trimming, and I'll bring you back when all of that's done. Now, I did leave the cover on because, I mean, I do want to know where this came from. And, I mean, the only thing that I actually had to throw away was just the spine of the book. Everything else I was able to keep, and so I think that's pretty good. We'll work backwards so that we can just put that in. Now, from my experience with doing this one, I know that in at least this punch, I can only get the cover. I can't double up on the paper. And because I have this one, and this is made for 11 discs, and I'm only punching 10, I just made sure that everything I punched, I put at that line. So again, whatever punch you have, just figure out, okay, where you're going to place it, and then always place all the subsequent ones in the exact same place. So even if it's uneven, it's all going to be the same uneven, if that makes sense. So I put it up there to that line, and then I punched, and again it worked just fine. And we're going to snap that in. And then for the pages, at least for this one, I could get 2 pages per punch. So it did take a little bit of time, but I just went slow. And then every once and again, I would empty out to the chamber underneath that has all of the punches. And so I'm going to do that now. Get this book in here as well, and then I'll bring you back when I'm done. And then I also want to test just to do some lettering real quick. Okay, so I wasn't paying attention and I punched this set of paper on the wrong side because all of my numbers should be all on this side of the page. So for it to actually match up, what's all practice pages? Yeah, so I'm just gonna leave it. Yep, guys, this is real life. So I'm just gonna put this on here. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love snapping paper in the on the desks, and the more the snap, the happier it makes me. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. So I'm gonna put this on and I'll bring you guys back when I am done. All right, guys, so I do have the 2 books in here, and I'm actually going to just do a little bit of lettering, test it out. So we'll get this first page here. Now I'm going to read through this when I'm done with the filming, but what I did notice right offhand was that it said, now it didn't say that a tombow would work in this. It did say that for hand lettering, tombow is one of the preferred or favorite pens. I'm actually going to also pull out one of these. These are the Sangria watercolor pens that I won recently in a giveaway, and I do have a pen test on this that I will link below. Oh, I found my dots. Now I always knew exactly where these dots were, but what I was looking for during the video was this here, because they come, I believe it's 1,000 dots from Amazon. I'll link it below. I don't know if you're going to need 1,000 dots, but I use these Velcro dots for my cash envelopes. And so one side is the furry side, and then one side is like the pokey side. And so what I do, just to make it easier, so I'm not dealing with this all the time, I will just spread it out, match it up as evenly as I can, cut it off, and then just work with little sections. And that's what I couldn't find during that video, but I found it. And since I have it, I just wanted to put this on there. And with my cash envelopes, it doesn't matter which side goes down, but if that pokey side goes down, then on the other side, the pokey side's gonna go down. Just because I think it makes it more even. I don't know if it actually does, but that's what I do, so that's what I'm gonna continue to do. And let's just put 3. And because it's adhesive on both sides, if I stick it on one and then secure it down, then I know it'll line up perfectly. And that way this cover thing doesn't flop all over creation. All right, so I'm not sure if the tombow is going to bleed through, so we're going to try that out. And then the way the lesson is you start at the little dot, and then you trace. So when you're going upwards, it's less pressure, and then when you're coming downwards, it's more pressure to give you that thickness, and then upwards, it's less pressure. And I just read a line that says, unlike cursive, where you're just, you know, writing and one continuous. With lettering, you should make a habit of picking up your pen. Now, for lettering, I know because I've watched tons of lettering videos that it really comes down to muscle memory, and that's why they want you to practice, because the more you do it, the more comfortable it'll feel. And I think for me, it might become, because I mean, I know the downward thing, I know the upward thing, I think it's just becoming comfortable with it. See, because that right there was not right. And yeah, there's lots of ghosting, if not even a little bleeding. So I chose a light color because I think it won't be as bad. And so we're going to go up, nope, go down, and then lessen the pressure, lift the pen, straight down, and then up. All right, so that one's better. It should actually be in the lines. It's this little bit right here that's giving me some problems. So, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably going to go on YouTube and watch some lettering videos because I can't really figure that out. So, because I mean, it just seems like it's going to get thick if I drag it that way, and that's an upstroke. Maybe it's like this. But then how do you control the pen? That's not bad. And oh yeah, so I might have to, because I mean, my concern is if I do lettering on this side, because I believe the way it's supposed to work is you just continue to practice. You practice, you practice, you practice. But if you have bleeding like this, then when I get to this page, I'm going to have bleeding. So I will definitely need to figure out some pens that will work in here that won't bleed through, or, and this might happen as well, I only work on this side of the paper, and then I can use whatever pen I want to. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll have to read it to see if it actually suggests anything, because it is a bit thick, and yet it isn't. I don't think it's as thick as this. So we're doing the A. So up, down, up, down, up. Yeah, it definitely doesn't bleed through here. So up, down, nope, up, down, up. All right, it's still that little bit right there. Maybe we can cheat. So all right, well, it's better. It's not great, but it's better. And let's see. Yeah, so what I might do is just get the stroke down just to determine how the lesson goes, and then use this section of my happy notes to do continuing practicing, because I think the more you practice all of the A's and the B's and the C's, and you just continue to keep doing it, then it'll feel more comfortable as you're doing the up and the down strokes. Although, again, I'll read the book, but I'll also watch some YouTube, because that's where I learn all my knowledge. All right, guys, let me know what you think of this. Would you put your lettering books on discs. Does that make it easier for you? Does that just seems like too much work? Really interested in what you guys think. I think this will definitely work better for me, and it's probably something I'll do maybe a few minutes every evening, or when I get some free time. I have a really bad habit of not taking enough time for myself because I'm always thinking about doing the next video or the next listing or the next blog post or commenting or doing all that. But I'm hoping doing stuff like this or doing stuff like my little MIDI here, where I just do some journaling and some doodling, that'll actually just give me some self-care time, which is definitely important, but also just help me close out the day so that I'm fresh for the next one. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Val, for reminding me that I actually even had these books. And as always, aloha.